This podcast is made possible by supporters like you. Mahalo. And by Atlas Insurance Agency, Hawaii's largest professional agency, helping Hawaii navigate insurance solutions since 1929. More at atlasinsurance.com.
Aloha mai kako. Welcome to a new episode of What School You Went. Start every conversation with that question. I'm Ron Mizutani, and today we're continuing our discussion with Master Storyteller Lopaka Kapanui on haunted schools in Hawaii. Last time we focused on Oahu. Today we're going to travel to Beautiful Kaua. Lopaka grew up around old Hawaiian legends and ghost stories from his family. Today, he is one of Hawaii's best ghost storytellers, leads walking ghost tours with Mysteries of Hawaii on Oahu. But his knowledge of ghost stories and all that come with it goes beyond Oahu's shores. Aloha, Lopaka. Welcome back to PBS Hawaii. Welcome back to What School You Went.
Aloha. Good to be back.
Good to have you, my friend. You know, I know your roots are definitely here on Oahu, Waipahu. And that is part of why you are a proud marauder. But, you know, I also know that you have very deep ties to the Garden Island. Where'd that come from?
So my mama, her second husband was James Kakani Nizo from Ni'ihau. And so there's those ties. And I never knew there were Japanese people in Ni'ihau until, Papa Nizo explained the whole thing. About the Takahashi Nizo clan and all that stuff. But the other tie to Kauai is from my wife's side. My wife is from Kauai, grew up in Omau, and just has tons of ghost stories. And so the boys are the ones that related what we're going to talk about today.
The boys as in your sons?
The sons.
Yeah. They still live there?
The third boy lives there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still getting into trouble?
No, he's good.
He's good.
He does a lot of welding, and his wife, Serenity, is now a police officer. So she keeps him in line.
Oh, wow. That's a double whammy. You married a wahine named Serenity, and she's also PD.
Yeah.
You got no chance, pal. Let's go back a little bit, because every time we talk about haunted schools, our emails light up. What about Farrington? What about Campbell? What about Kamehameha schools? Yes. Check all the boxes. I mean, and sometimes that top 5 list changes. Other times it's, it is what it is. You're going to have some heavy ghost stories, especially in the winter Oahu. What is the criteria? And you have criteria that you've set or people have set to determine what is a haunted school. What has to happen?
The school has to be built over the foundation of a heiau. And then within that school, there would have to be proven, legitimate, what we call today paranormal activity, to the point where, the students are being interacted with, furniture moving around. Remember, you were ever in school and the clock just started going crazy, the clock on the wall? That ever happened to you?
Of course, I've seen that.
Oh, yeah.
But I went Kamehameha, so we see a lot of crazy things up there, I'm telling you. And that's one of the schools, right? Correct?
Yeah.
There's a lot going on up in Kapalama and all of the heights, Halava as well, and Aleva. What determines that, though? I mean, what causes that? Besides being in sacred grounds, I mean, people talk about night marchers and they talk about all kinds of stuff.
Well, because it's also, a school, especially the intermediate and high schools. During that time of our life, we're transitioning from child to adult. So all these things are happening to our bodies, and then, our emotions are all over the place. So it's that kind of energy that elicits, that kind of spiritual activity. Mm-hmm. So cognitive spirits, react to that kind of thing. And so, not to go off topic, but I think I said this before, when people call me and tell me, can come bless our house because the furniture is moving, get fires, I go to my room, clothes all over the place, get anxiety in this part of the house, foul odors. The first thing I ask these people when they call me is, do you have a teenager in the house? And if they say yes, I said, so the next time this happens, try to see if it only happens when that teenager is present. And if it does, and they tell me it's the fact, I say, okay, so what's going on with your teenagers? Like, aloof, lock themselves in a bedroom, they'll like talk to me, suppressing all these emotions, and I said, so the state of being that your teenager is in now in high school, intermediate, that makes the teenager an agent for a poltergeist. So the poltergeist is not possessing your teenager, it's using that energy to act through them, which is why all these things are happening. So if you think about these kinds of teenagers in intermediate schools and high schools, it's crazy. And then it's built on top of, the foundation of an old heiau, more wars, more activity.
It can also be circumstantial where a crime or death, a murder. In the case of Hickam Elementary School, it was a triage during the Pearl Harbor bombing. So all of that comes with energy as well.
Absolutely.
But it's not just about death, right? I mean, when something is haunted, is it death generated? And then we'll jump to Kauai, because I think all of this sets the table of why some schools are more active than others.
The thing we have to understand is the term haunted means residual. So haunted is basically the physical impression of people and things that were in that place that's left a psychic thumbprint. So when you're seeing what you perceive as a ghost, you're seeing a residual thumbprint, a recording of events that happen, and it just repeats itself. So, a psychic video recording. But the way it works is, even though it's residual, it needs a human being that can perceive it. So a lot of times when people tell me I saw a ghost, I said, don't be afraid, because it doesn't even know you're there. It's probably like this recording. But for spirits, that's cognitive. The spirits know they're dead. They know they can't go past this point. And because they're cognitive, they're also aware of the living people, which is why they can interact with us, like night marchers.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the word poltergeist. Excuse me. The movie Poltergeist still freaks me out. The guy is scary. And the little old lady is just adorable as heck. She says, this house is cleaned, right?
Yeah.
Can you cleanse a Hickam Elementary School grounds? Stevenson, Wahiawa, King Intermediate. Can you cleanse something like that?
Well,
is that the right word, I should say?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I've been asked that question to, come and bless certain schools that have activities. And unfortunately, my answer is always the same. I said, I can do this now, but, next school year, same energy coming through, and then all over again. So I said, so if you want something yearly, we can do that, but it's never going to change. Unless you can have people come and specifically not really cleanse the ground if it's like hail or anything like that, but to basically say to those spirits, we're going to be here for a while, so, can we reach a middle ground? Can we work something out?
And you know what? So what if you got to do it annually?
Yeah.
Yeah? I mean, it's like anything else. You ask for permission to come, to be there. You don't just walk into someone's house.
No.
If you do, you can pay the consequences. Yeah. In this case, how difficult is it to acknowledge respectfully and ask for permission?
Yeah.
Yeah. And those who get it, get it. Those who don't get it, they get cracks other ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who don't get it.
Yes, for sure.
Which is why the Department of Health is haunted.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah. It's the most haunted state building.
The DOH on Punch Bowl.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yeah. Tell me about that before we go to Kauai.
My friend who's one of the senior guys, heard me tell stories about Department of Health. And he called me. He said, where did you get that information? I said, people, were going there, applying, whatever. He said, that's 100% correct. So the short story is this lady got a job at the Department of Health, and she was supposed to report to room 106. And she said she went in there, brought her stuff and sat down, and she said, everybody in that office, they're just so glum. Mm-hmm. They just don't look like, they're happy to be there. And she asked one of the people, she goes, do you know where the bathroom is? And the person just looked like grayish and just looked at her and said, it's outside the door to the left. So she went to go use a bathroom, came back, and then the office door is closed, and there's the maintenance guy mopping the floor. And so she's like, excuse me, and she went to go walk into the office. And the maintenance guy said, "Where are you going?" She said, "Oh, I'm going to my office." He goes, "What office?" He goes, "Right in there." And he looks like this. He goes, "What office are you going?" And she said, 106. And he said, "Oh." Reach up like this, turn the thing around. It's 109.
Oh, my.
He said, "This is a supply room. Nobody goes in there. The office is gone a long time." It's like, the office is down over there. So she went into the room. She said, "Well, I got to get my purse." And she thought the guy was joking. So the desk she was sitting at was moved to the corner, and her purse and stuff was on the desk. But everything else was just whatever, storage. And so that guy called me, and he said, "That story's true." And he said, "I'm sorry you made it public, but yeah." He goes, "That's a true story." He goes, 100% accurate.
There's a lot going on in that building.
Yeah.
106, that's not the marital license room, is it? or because there's, you have to go get your birth certificates there, your death certificates as well, and you need to go apply for your marriage license too.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's
my friend said a lot of employees who've passed, you see their spirit like a short time later, same cubicle.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right across the street is Queens Medical Center too.
Yep.
A lot going on there. Oh, okay. Yeah, most of the state buildings, I feel that energy, and I don't know why. I mean, granted, some of them are very old. Kalakau building, obviously, across the street at not Attorney General, but DCCA and all that. They all house themselves by the post office. So a lot of energy there, right?
That used to be the gallows. That's where they executed criminals by hanging.
Downstairs.
Oh, yeah.
They still exist from what I hear, right?
Yeah. My second oldest boy worked for a junk company, and the short story. And so they asked them to go clean out the basement in the back, and I guess they did a good job. And my son called me like lunchtime. He goes, "Dad, you can come get me." I was like, "Oh, you already?" He goes, "No, I quit." I was like, "Why you quit? It's good pay." He said, "Dad, we did one good job." And the manager was so happy. He took us downstairs. He wanted to show us all the old gallows. So he said, had one look pretty bust up, one not so bad. He said, but the newest one he wouldn't show to us. He said, that's the most active one. And so he said, everybody else walked into the room. He said, but Dad, I couldn't go in the room because I started getting really nauseous. So he said, thanks for hooking me up, Dad, but I cannot. I gotta quit.
That's where it all happened.
Yeah, and so the list of names they have of everybody that was executed, only one Caucasian was executed by hanging. Everybody else was Filipino, Japanese, Hawaiian, Portuguese. That's because that one Caucasian guy stowed away on the ship from New York. And the reason they listed him as Caucasian is because he was Irish, so they couldn't call him white. And the history of how the Irish were treated when they immigrated here. But that guy took the life of a young boy in Wailua. And so that's why he got executed by hanging. But everybody else, brown-skinned people, until they abolished hanging.
Okay, let's go to Kauai. Haunted
Kauai.
schools on Kauai, and folks listening on Kauai, and our friends and families on Kauai. How are you guys doing? Give me. I don't know if you have a top five. I'm afraid to even ask. We're from Niumalu, Nawiliwili, so Kauai High School right there. Is Kauai High part of that?
So is that the school on the Heiau?
I couldn't tell you. It's up on the hill, right above in the Kalapaki Bay.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's another one called Chiefus.
Chiefus Kamakahili, yeah.
So third son, Makana, the welder on Kauai, he said they called him there to do something in, I think it was the band room, weld something. And so he went in there and just looked around and, was texting, I think one of his partners then for what they needed for the job. And you know how you have the rolling chair you're sitting on? So he's like this, and he hears a chair roll across the floor like that. And he just looks and, he doesn't see anything. And then he hears it again, like rolling some more, and he's looking around like this. And he's texting Guy. And he said all of a sudden, the snare drum just boom, boom. And so he got up and looked around. He's like, okay, I'm leaving. And he heard this voice in the corner of the band room, just this soft voice saying, you should. And so Makana's he's this goofy, derpy boy, but he's very, very smart and very fearless. And he said he just screamed and ran out of that room. Friends have also told him, which I believe because I've met his friends. Sometimes when, you're walking through the campus, and they said they weren't, doing any substances or anything like that, but it kind of seems like the entire campus is just covered with red dirt. It's like all the red dirt from the earth is just like all over the campus, and then the next thing you know, it's gone.
What does the red dirt symbolize? Or does it symbolize anything?
I'm not sure, but if you've got a heiau that was, one for human sacrifice and your campus is on it and there's all that energy, there's ways in which, spirits want to make themselves known. So for me, red dirt, covering all the buildings on that campus means, don't be here.
Interesting you say that. So maybe at least 20, 30 years ago, it was one of the hot selling items on Kauai was red dirt T-shirts.
Yeah.
Right? Because where you go on Kauai, there's a lot of red dirt.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're all heiau, right? That doesn't mean that they're all sacred grounds. But I would never wear red dirt T-shirt. And they were hugely popular.
Yeah.
Yeah. People, I don't even know if they still exist. I think they do. I'm looking at Kevin. Kevin is the retailer slash a guy, but it was very popular. Any other schools that have got the attention of folks because of activity?
So Kauai people, if you know the correct place, please chime in when you see this. Is there one in Waimea? That side?
Oh, yes.
So there's something about night marchers on the campus. And I want to make sure I heard this correctly.
Well, they are called Namenehune,
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that is their mascot.
Okay.
Namenehune.
There's an account, and I got to go back on this. I'll go back on this page to verify, of security on campus. The sun is just setting and feeling like this kind on the inside of your shirt, going like this to your shirt. Kind of like, how your dad used to grab you when you go get lickings. Kind of like this, just out of nowhere, and just, pulling people. And so I believe that because that's happened to me too. That hail up at the Aiea Loop Trail?
Yes.
Yeah. I was walking through the hail and I forgot to pull in. As soon as my foot crossed the line into the hail, something went like this to my shirt and pulled me back. So now you say Menehune, that completely
That makes sense. Yeah, Waimea na Menehune. Part of Waimea side is Hanapepe as well, on the way to Waimea. And some of my fondest memories going to Salt Pond Beach, which is not the same anymore. It's overrun by a lot of homeless activity and just ugly stuff. It's not what it used to be. But in your book, Kahuna, you talk about Salt Pond.
Yeah.
And the salt that was, not grown there, but gathered there for years and still is today. Sacred grounds there too, is it not?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which could, I'm just confused as to why they would build a helicopter pad near the salt pond.
Amen. Yeah.
Just asking for trouble.
And there's plenty pilikia out there in that area with air disasters.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I was like, oh, if that's not proof. And then Kipu Falls.
Yes.
I don't mean to deter from the subject, but, my wife said on Kauai, Kipu Falls, like there's certain times they would go down there and the boys didn't want to jump in the water. And the boys have friends who jumped in, and the second they jumped into the falls at Kipu, they got grabbed, pulled under. And one friend told my oldest boy, the second he thought he was going to drown and he couldn't see what was holding him, in his mind he kept saying, oh, Mom, I'm so sorry, the trouble I caused you. I was such a punk. I made you worry so much. And when he sincerely apologized to his mom, in his mind, he said the thing just let him go.
I'm not laughing. I believe you. I totally believe you. I'm thinking of Kipu Falls and the school grounds that are near that area.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That whole valley is heavy.
Yeah.
I know there's a we used to go to the Buddhist church over there for Obon season, and Bon dance is like our carnival on Kauai, right? So,
Flying saucers.
Yeah, good stuff there. Wilcox Elementary School. And any other schools that get flagged for activity?
Wilcox Elementary, I got this message on our Facebook fan page, Mysteries of Honolulu, and it was just a question. And I remember asking my wife and the boys, but this person says, have you heard anything about, the smell of blood at Wilcox Elementary? I was like, no, I haven't. He says, I don't want to name names, but this person was, just walking through the campus on a walk, not really vandalizing or anything. And the person told me that all of a sudden, one part of campus, there's this really strange metallic odor. And so this person says, when that person told me, I told them, when it's a metallic odor like that, that's actually blood. So the person said, would you know why there's the smell of blood on the campus of Wilcox Elementary? And so I have a feeling this person who sent the message was the actual person. Just trying not to say it was them. So, the boys didn't know because that's not where they went. And we're still trying to find out, what was there. And I don't not believe this person. I tend to believe more than I don't believe, because there's another campus where we used to do a ghost tour that was this old sacrificial heiau. And on certain nights, you would smell it without a wind. And I forget her name. She was a news reporter on the other station where Robert Kekaula was.
Paula.
Not Paula. The other one.
Tina Shelton.
No.
No?
Okamoto?
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
My mind not working.
Yeah. But she was there that one night, and she kind of freaked out because everybody in the group was like, is that blood? But no wind. So maybe under the campus is, something like that.
Well, it is surrounded by, so right next door is KPD, Kauai Police Department, the library, and then right next to it is War Memorial, the Veterans Center.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's right next to Wilcox, right neighbors of Wilcox Elementary. Perhaps it is the blood of soldiers. I don't know.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, sorry, Kauai, but I asked this question to you the last time, and I think I asked kind of it earlier in a different way. But on Oahu, Kauai, Hawaii Island, and if folks, if you are listening, share with me your schools, because last time we did this, I mean, I'm not kidding you, Lopaka. We got people saying, "Hey, St. Louis, because it was used for the war." It was a triage up there by Chaminade, plenty activity. Mid-Pacific, same thing. Farrington, they talk about Hector in the gym, and real specific, Waipahu, Stevenson, Wahioa, and Mililani. Also August Aarons in elementary and Aiea. Does the list change?
As for,
again, not to give them rankings, because we all caught up in rankings sometimes, but what determines the amount of activity that makes somebody a top 5 as opposed to?
when the activity becomes such that it makes the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah.
Which is why Kapolei High School right now, very active. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot going on in Kapolei.
In Kapolei. And I think intermediate too. One of the teachers in the portable classrooms told me there's a night marcher procession coming through the Kaupe'a neighborhood, through the school, and they always see this huge white owl at night on the campus. And then for Kapolei High School, they said it just, like out of nowhere, it just started. And the activity began to spike to the point where it was not only just paranormal activity, but now fights breaking out on the school.
Like within students.
Yeah.
Yeah, just disruption,
Centered around the students.
Interesting, yeah? Manifesting that way.
Yeah.
Like you talked about transitioning years of of our teens, and
Yeah.
everybody being big body, someone looking at my girlfriend.
Oh, my God.
Oh, you give me stink eye. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever the reason is. But there's been a lot of, in this past school year, I understand, not just kapolei, so I don't want to just say that's isolated to kapolei, but sometimes there's a bigger stuff going on there than just
Yeah.
teenagers being teens.
Yeah. Sometimes a lot of it has to do with the administration too. And based on what you were just saying, I remember the first time in my freshman year of high school, first time I got lickings, because this guy came up to me, "Bro, you looking at my girlfriend?" And I was like, "Have you looked at your girlfriend?"
Ouch. Ouch.
But yeah, if any of our listeners on Kauai are paying attention, please submit your own experiences, to the schools you went to, because I know there's more.
Oh, guaranteed.
Yeah, but I think I gotta come Kauai more.
Yeah, you always tell me, "Hey, let's go on the road to Kauai."
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Let's do it
talk
live.
story about the activity that happens. I keep using the word activity because it's active.
we can also talk about why we love Kauai.
Oh, yeah.
What it means to us.
Yeah,
And I think Kauai is the last vestige of our childhood. At least that's the way I feel.
yeah. It is the eldest of Niihau, but the eldest of the inhabited. I didn't know, by the way, Japanese were on Niihau.
Yeah,
either.
the story, according to Papa Nizo, was a couple of cooks on this Japanese ship didn't like the conditions, so the ship was sailing between Kauai and Niihau, and they jumped ship and swam to Niihau.
Oh,
And eventually married into the family. So that's why on Kauai you have Niihau, you have Takahashi, Nizo, and Shintani, and I think there's one more
family.
and they all have their mon, their crest. And so when that World War II
Yes.
pilot crashed,
I was just going to say,
he's trying to recruit all of them.
interesting.
And so the story goes that, Benjamin Kanahele was shot, and he killed the pilot. But according to what Papa Nizo told me, he said the wife was the one that actually killed the pilot. She was so upset that, the husband got shot. They said she grabbed the pilot by his head and smashed up against the canopy and killed him.
That's not legend. That's real.
That's real.
That's real. That was World War II. The pilot
yeah,
crashed and was held on Niihau.
on Niihau.
Yeah.
So Papa Nizo also said in ancient times the Niihau people had a particular kind of lua, bone breaking specific to that island, because they said the aihamu, or the executioners from Kauai, would come looking for sacrifice for their temples, so they had to learn how to defend themselves. And so he claims that when Kamehameha forces did land on Kauai, the Niihau people were there, and they're having difficulty because the Niihau style of lua was sort of like unorthodox. It wasn't the Maui Hawaii style. And so I remember asking my papa, I said, "So what kind is that?" And he said it's very, very similar to small circle jujitsu.
Interesting.
So he said it's the kind you grab the guy by the thumb, and when you throw him, you pull a certain way and you only dislocate the elbow. Or you pull this other way, you dislocate the whole arm.
Very strategic.
Yeah.
In a future Once We Went podcast, I already have made the call to my dear friend Ramsey Tom.
Yeah.
We're going to talk lua and the different forms, why, and the importance of it, but the respect part of it especially.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that too can be misused and abused. The art of lua. It is an art, very much so. Lopaka Kapanui, thanks for taking us to beautiful Kauai and always talking story and your willingness to share. And again, I know you do so with the right heart, so we can not giggle, but we can definitely laugh with respect, knowing that you always ask for permission for us to talk story before we do so. And Keokua understands we're in the right place. Yeah, always. Take care of yourself, my friend.
Mahalo.
Be safe. I like your haircut, by the way.
It's my wife's idea.
Looks good.
She
You look
making me
younger,
She making me get these tattoos, and then
I love it.
She said, and then grow it back.
Yeah, I love it. You look the part. All right, mahalo nui for joining us, everybody. Join us next week. Another episode of What School You Went. Until then, ahui ho.
Ahui.
What School You Went is a PBS Hawaii production. Music by Taimane Gardner. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and tell your friends. You can find us on pbshawaii.org and everywhere you get your podcasts.